It's another Yoshi game, everybody. Currently the last one and part of our backlog series. As longtime viewers know, I have not had much fun with the Yoshi series, unlike the time we did the Wario series, which started out as amazing and petered out towards the end. With Yoshi, though, it was only the first game that really shined, Super Mario World 2, the game with that giant Bowser fight that everybody remembers. Then Yoshi was put in various projects, dancing around and singing the same old song in different tights. He was handed off to a couple developers that couldn't make the little guy stand out outside of the Mario series. The number of direct repeats of Super Mario World 2's plot is frankly embarrassing, with the Yoshi clan having to save Baby Mario and the other babies several times because the stork kept screwing up its job. The series for me was only reaching the heights of good to passable, but maybe handing it off to Goodfeel, the Kirby yarn folks, will be the change he finally needs. Whoops, that didn't last long, as the game begins with the Yoshi celebrating this sun rock that they own that provides all the good and happiness that they love on their little island, and then Baby Bowser and Kamek show up to ruin everything because Baby Bowser is a huge dickhead. Due to this and the pair's complete stupidity, they decide to try and steal the happy-go-lucky rock in broad daylight right next to the Yoshi clan. So they all get in a tug of war over it, and the whole thing ends up detonating and spreading both the Yoshis, the rock, Kamek, and Baby Bowser, along with the 5 stone batteries from the Sun Rock, all over the island. Now everyone is on a race to get back the MacGuffins so that one side can have the Sun Rock first. Obviously, the plot is not important. This is a Mario game, therefore stars need to happen in order to be collected due to the formula. Unlike the other games in the, for lack of a better term, the arts and crafts series that Nintendo has been doing here, there isn't a reason given in this game for why the entire island is made of cardboard. It just is, and everyone lives there. Maybe this is a carryover from Whirly World. No one cares, which is odd that it gets glossed over, considering that the crafted world is this game's biggest selling point. The charming aesthetic that Goodfeel decided to make the entire island, along with the enemies that inhabit it and all the objects on it, out of 3D arts and crafts stuff, which looks adorable the whole way through and was used very creatively. The game has tons of the old level types drawn from all over the Mario series, from the typical jungle and forest levels, to levels on vehicles like the train, spooky levels, levels in the sky, levels that are on fire. All of it is accompanied by this charming 3D CG look. But the problem that follows this praise is that the look is the only thing that this game has to work with. Otherwise, Crafted World is just another Yoshi game. It's the same platforming, the same collectibles, the same shooting mechanics, borrowed ideas from a bunch of the other games, just given a new slap of paint. Sure, the levels are longer and more involved. They bring back the gimmicks from Epic Yarn, the vehicle sections to spice things up, but the whole game is simply recycled crap from the Yoshi IP and Goodfeel's other project, and in spite of all this updated graphics and scenery, Crafted World still feels very stale to me as a player. It's because this game has little challenge to it outside of the ending stuff, and even then the difficulty curve is iffy. The best thing this game has is a final collectible world where you need to find all the flower coins, which is just a hard no from me. Mostly because by that point at the end of the game, I just wanted the game to be over. The game follows the classic Mario formula, which means that there can't be any time spent on developing the villain by law of the formula. So that means any meaningful story beats are thrown out of the window, and like we've seen in other gameplay-focused games here, if the gameplay is boring, then you have nothing else to stand on. It is a real shame that it happened because I did play Epic Yarn way before this game, and Epic Yarn was actually satisfying to play and had a normal difficulty curve in spite of the fact that you couldn't die in that game. The game still had levels that made for some platforming challenges, and because those levels were still in there, it kept the video game entertaining and I had a lot of fun. Compare that to the crafted world, and the most I remember getting hurdled by ended up being the simple annoyance of me getting lost. The game changes up some objectives to levels, to be fair, so it is a bit different, but those changes ended up being more annoying because the big change to some levels was requiring the player to come to a point in the level with 3 quest items, so that they could be transformed into the vehicle that they'd take to the next part of the level. You can't find the items? Well, go back through the level until you find them. Lucky player you! It's kind of like that bit in Super Mario World where you had to solve the Forest of Illusion, but the difference is that Super Mario World only had 1 Forest of Illusion, and this quest item nonsense gets repeated in several levels. It's a good time to bring up one of the major additions to the mechanics of this game is now you can shoot eggs into the background in order to progress through the game in general, pick up collectibles, and just kinda goof around. Goodfield planted tons of interactable objects in the back and the foreground that the player can shoot in order to make the 3D design of this game end up feeling justified. Except that this portion of the game just feels like a tech demo, where they put it in and tied it to so many quest items and collectibles just to give the game some sort of gimmick so that it would feel unique. Simply, it's a shallow implementation of 3D, and that's my feeling on this game in a nutshell, is that it feels really shallow. The trailer hyped up this game as a chill, cutesy adventure where Yoshi will get to go to many places and be able to travel around and platform in cool ways wearing ridiculous costumes. But the biggest strength this game has is simply looking like those things rather than being charming and a fun time deep down. Think of this like painting a wall. A platformer is supposed to have fun platforming by default because that's the entire point of the genre. If the platforming is fun, then you have a solid wall, and then you can paint it over with gimmicks, cool characters, a fun story that's supposed to enhance the solid wall of gameplay. With Crafted World, it doesn't have that satisfying platforming, so you end up with a bunch of paint thrown on the ground because there is no wall to put it on, and that's why this game feels shallow. It's a gimmick supporting nothing else but itself. The boss fights in this game aren't even that good. A couple of the early ones were done in less than a minute, which is bad right off the bat, but their attacks aren't interesting, they're super quick to figure out and defeat, and then we just move on as if nothing happened. Whereas the bosses in a game are supposed to be our reward for the progression we made, the high adrenaline point, where we can put our skills to the test in an interesting way. But again, in this one, the whole Rogues Gallery feels like it's there to be style over substance. Make the boss look cool, but pathetically easy. Hell, they even brought back Bert the Whatever and the Naval Piranha just to further confirm the lack of ideas here. But again, to be fair, when their original ideas include the Tin Can Condor, maybe I should end up being grateful that they brought back the old classics. Maybe I should just admit that I don't like the chill games like this in Captain Toad on a personal level. But then, I think back to other games like the previously mentioned Epic Yarn and the better puzzle games out there. And I end up realizing that the problem is the games and not me. The games are boring, and they bring nothing to the table that will keep my attention for longer than a couple of hours. Sure, the game will look cool and put in some interesting effects on screen while you're playing it, but after you put it down, you'll never think of it again, unlike that original Yoshi game, Super Mario World 2. I did want to put a mini rant here about the obvious detraction that this video would get, and many other videos like this. And that is that Crafted World is supposed to be a kid's game. So of course it's a cakewalk. Well, that's bullshit. Games that were aimed at kids back in the day had normal difficulty curves, and even difficulty spikes like any other game. And they didn't need to be dumbed down arbitrarily to be more marketable to a child. That's completely ridiculous. You really need to give kids some respect, and to not patronize them like this. They have some abilities in actually playing games. It makes for bad games overall when you do this and dumb them down so hard. And just to complete this entire argument, if you really need an example, just look at Super Mario Odyssey. Has a normal difficulty curve, is kid-friendly. Anyway, my recommendation for this game is that it's only going to be for the people who either have just time to kill or are big Yoshi fans, which for some reason I have in my audience. Other than those, I'm going to say that this game is going to be a waste of time for everyone else. Just a completely empty void that's, pretty colors and interesting visuals, but it doesn't provide any satisfying gameplay, it doesn't provide any meaningful challenge, it's just a really quick time sink. I can't even remember the soundtrack of this game, which usually they can get right with these platforming games to kind of, be the background to everything. But I really can't. Crafted World is exactly what the trailer said it would be. It's a fun arts and crafts 3D world, and pretty much nothing else beyond that. God damn, Yoshi, I really wish they put you in some better titles because you just have not been treated well the past few games.